Welcome to Getting It Right by the New Zealand Society of Genealogists. I'm your presenter, Sarah Hewitt. For the notes that accompany this presentation and the other Getting It Right learning resources, please see our website www.genealogy.org.nz. In this presentation, we're going to look at getting help. Sometimes you just don't know where the records are, or perhaps getting a few more brains looking at your problem will help you break through a brick wall. We're going to start off with the New Zealand Society of Genealogists. In addition to a huge array of records and a library in Auckland, which you can access even if you're not in Auckland, they have a huge membership of very helpful people. So one perk of being a member of the NZSG is the mem list, where you can access the collective brains of the thousands of NZSG members. More locally, there are also NZSG branches dotted all over the country. Here's some pictures from my branch at Kilburnie. Most branches will have a monthly meeting with a presentation. Some have libraries and resources. It's a great place to go and meet other genealogists, have a cup of tea, and find out something new. Kilburnie branch also organise visits to local museums and archives, exhibitions, and commemorative services. There are also a large number of interest groups covering an array of different topics, so look at the notes that accompany this presentation to see the listing. And with the internet, there's a huge array of message boards, forums, mailing lists, etc., etc., etc. I'm just going to call them all forums for the sake of simplicity. And with doing anything on the internet, of course, there is your basic etiquette, or as they like to call it, netiquette. Don't forget your manners. I know you won't, but I'm just going to remind you anyway. And remember, when you make a comment, would you say that to somebody's face? Sometimes people forget that one when they get a little bit annoyed. There are other parts of netiquette when it comes to doing forums. Are you in the right forum? You're not going to get a Latin translation on the forum that's there for dating photographs. And yes, there are different forums for these things out there. Make sure you read the forum's guidelines. There may be a prescribed form on how they would like the information that you're asking for presented. Or there might be tips on how to do things like upload photographs. All of these can be useful information. And do have a quick search through the forum first, because somebody may have asked a very similar question to the one you're asking and have got the answer already. And you don't like seeing things repeated lots and lots of times, so make sure you're part of the solution and not the problem. And there's more. Ask at one place at a time. The very helpful people out there on these forums are usually across a number of forums, and they get a bit annoyed if they put some work into answering your question on one forum to discover it's already been answered on another. Be very specific in your request. Asking for information on your ancestor John Brown in New Zealand is not very specific, but if you add maybe, he arrived in 1880 and was last heard of in the Otago goldfields, I'm trying to find information after that time, then people will help you. And if you've already done a bit of research, like I've already looked through the electoral rolls and he doesn't appear to be there, then people will know where you've already looked and not give you information you already know. Still a bit more to come. Make sure you check back. You may have questions for the person who's given information, and they may have questions for you. Don't thread hijack. What do I mean by this? This is where you put your question on the same thread as somebody else's question. The very helpful people will see yours if you start a new one, so do that. The only time you should answer a thread is if you have something useful to add, or perhaps you notice that the person has names that are in your family. You could then say hello. And please, once you've had your thread answered, don't delete it. Other people out there might find the information in it useful, and you might find some new relatives when they see the family names. And a very big no-no on anything online is we don't give details of living people. You can get your question answered if you put a general query on. People will help you via email or through private messaging on these forums, but please don't name people who are still living. Another part of getting help is keeping your finger on the pulse, knowing what's happening out in your local neighbourhood, exhibitions, seminars, conferences, knowing when there's new records available online, knowing when things are free, or when there's discounts and sales. How do we do this? We find the relevant, interesting organisations, We can subscribe to their email newsletters. We can like their Facebook page. Or we can browse through message boards. You can be quite sure when there's something free going, it'll be on the message board. So let's sum up. Genealogists are very helpful people, so you'll always find lots of help for your problems. Join the NZSG because they've got lots of very helpful people. And there is an etiquette, please follow it. And lastly, keeping your finger on the pulse can keep you entertained and help save you money. Thank you for joining us. The next video in this series is DNA Basics. I'll see you next time. For further information, see our website www.genealogy.org.nz, and we'd like to thank the Wellington Masonic Club for their support in making these presentations. See you next time.